Welcome back. Tonight, we're diving into random, useless Pokemon facts that span generations, regions, and the hidden corners of this universe we've loved for nearly 3 decades. But all of them exist simply to guide you gently into rest. The Space World demo of Pokemon Gold and Silver, shown at a Japanese gaming expo in 1997, revealed dozens of beta Pokemon that never appeared in the final games. Some of these were simply alternative designs that were later reworked, but others were completely unique concepts. There was Bomushika, a water and fire type seal that would have been the only Pokemon with that typing combination until Volcanian's introduction many years later. There was a split evolution family of fish Pokemon that started with Sunmola, evolved into the shark Anchorgay, and then into an eel-like creature called Grotess, all with water and steel typing. Before we keep going, let me know in the comments where you're watching from tonight, and if you'd like more calm journeys like this, make sure you're subscribed. Perhaps the most mysterious element from Pokemon's early development is missingno, the infamous glitch Pokemon that players could encounter through specific exploits in Red and Blue. Missingno isn't a true Pokemon, but rather what happens when the game tries to display data from an empty or corrupted Pokédex slot. Its appearance, a garbled collection of pixels that shifts and glitches, is the game's attempt to render something that doesn't have proper sprite data. What's fascinating is that missingno isn't completely empty. It has stats, a type designation, even a cry, all pulled from leftover data in the game's memory. This suggests that missingno might occupy space that was originally reserved for Pokemon that were cut during development, its fragmented appearance a ghost of creatures that almost existed. Encountering missingno became a rite of passage for many players, a peek behind the curtain at the game's technical underpinnings and the imperfections hidden beneath its polished surface. The localization of Pokémon for Western audiences involved more work than simply translating text. Every single Pokémon needed an English name, and these names had to be trademarked in multiple countries, a massive legal and creative undertaking. The localization team wanted names that would resonate with English-speaking children while maintaining some connection to the Pokemon's characteristics or Japanese origins. Some names are relatively straightforward translations or adaptations, like Pikachu, which kept its Japanese name because it was already distinctive and easy to pronounce. Others required more creativity. Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan, the fighting-type Pokemon, were renamed after martial arts legends Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan, making their nature immediately clear to Western audiences. This naming convention even extended to their Japanese names. Sawamalar and Ebiwalar were based on Japanese kickboxing and boxing champions, maintaining the same concept across languages. The translation team made some controversial decisions that changed Pokemon's presentation in subtle but meaningful ways. In the original Japanese versions, several Pokemon had more aggressive or mature backstories that were softened for the English release. Kadabra's Pokédex entries in Japanese suggested it might have been a human child with psychic powers who transformed into a Pokémon, a disturbing origin story that was toned down in translation. Some ghost-type Pokémon had entries that more explicitly referenced death and spirits, while the English versions used vaguer language. These changes reflected different cultural attitudes toward what was appropriate in children's media, with Western markets generally preferring to keep darker themes more implicit. One of the most significant localization changes affected Jinx, the Ice and Psychic type Pokémon. Jinx's original design featured dark skin that was meant to reference Ganguro fashion, a Japanese style popular in the 1990s, or possibly the appearance of spirits in traditional folklore. However, when Pokémon reached Western audiences, Jinx's appearance was criticized for resembling racist caricatures. The controversy led to Jinx's sprite being redesigned in later games and re-releases, changing its skin from dark purple to light purple. This change happened gradually, first appearing in Pokémon Stadium 2 and then being retroactively applied to older games in subsequent re-releases. The Jinx controversy became a learning experience for Game Freak about how designs could carry different cultural meanings in different regions. Pokémon's names often contain layers of meaning that might not be immediately obvious. Pikachu, for instance, comes from two Japanese onomatopoeia. Pika pika is the sound of sparkling or twinkling, representing the electricity's visual nature, while chu is the sound a mouse makes in Japanese. Put them together, and you get a sparkling mouse sound, which perfectly encapsulates Pikachu's essence as an electric rodent. Many other Pokémon follow similar patterns. Charmander combines char, suggesting burning, with salamander, the mythological creature associated with fire. Squirtle merges squirt with turtle. Bulbasaur fuses bulb, referring to the plant bulb on its back, with dinosaur. These portmanteaus make the Pokémon's characteristics immediately recognizable, a clever bit of linguistic design that helps players understand creatures they've never seen before. Some Pokémon names hide their origins in languages other than English and Japanese. Ekans and Arbok, the poison-type snake Pokémon, are simply snake and cobra spelled backward. Their evolutions maintain this pattern, with Ekans gaining more snake-like features and Arbok developing a cobra's distinctive hood. Mook is cum spelled backward, a nod to its toxic sludge form, though the name also works as a standalone word, suggesting muck and grime. These reverse spelling names gave the Pokémon a slightly mysterious quality, as if their true natures were hidden in plain sight. The competitive Pokémon community eventually discovered that beneath the game's friendly surface lay complex hidden mechanics that determined battle outcomes. The most significant of these were individual values and effort values, statistical systems that weren't explained anywhere in the game but had enormous impact on a Pokémon's performance. Individual values, or IVs, are random numbers assigned to each Pokémon when it's generated, representing genetic variation between individuals of the same species. These values affect a Pokémon's stats in subtle but meaningful ways, explaining why two Pikachu at the same level might have slightly different attack or speed scores. IVs range from 0 to 15 in the first 2 generations, and were later expanded to range from 0 to 31. Effort values, or EVs, are the game's way of representing training and experience. Every time a Pokémon battles and defeats another Pokémon, it gains invisible EVs in specific stats determined by what it fought. For example, defeating a Machop grants EVs that boost attack, while defeating a Geodude grants EVs that boost defense. Over time, these accumulated EVs translate into significant stat increases, meaning a Pokémon's actual battle history shapes its development. The system rewards players who carefully choose which Pokémon to train against, allowing for strategic customization of a team's strengths. The games never explained this system directly, leaving players to discover it through experimentation and data mining, but it added tremendous depth to Pokémon's competitive scene once it was understood. The rare candy item reveals another hidden aspect of these training mechanics. Rare candies instantly increase a Pokémon's level by 1, offering a shortcut to evolution or higher stats. However, Pokémon raised exclusively on rare candies end up weaker than Pokémon trained through normal battles, because the instant level up doesn't grant any EVs. This creates an invisible trade-off between convenience and optimal strength. Game Freak confirmed this was intentional, a subtle way of teaching players that shortcuts have consequences, and that genuine effort, represented by battling and training, produces better results than simply using rare items. It's a design philosophy that runs throughout Pokémon, rewarding patience and engagement over quick fixes. The friendship mechanic, introduced in Pokémon Gold and Silver, but present in hidden form in earlier games, represents another layer of depth. Friendship is an invisible stat that increases when a Pokémon is used in battle, leveled up, given vitamins, or walked around with the player. It decreases if the Pokémon faints frequently or is stored in the PC for long periods. Certain Pokémon, like Eevee, Chansey, and Golbat, require high friendship to evolve, making the mechanic essential for completing the Pokédex. But friendship affects more than just evolution. Pokémon with high friendship land critical hits more often, have a better chance of surviving attacks that would otherwise knock them out, and may even shake off status conditions like paralysis or confusion. The game never explicitly tells players about most of these effects, but they create a palpable sense that Pokémon who've been with the trainer for a long time fight differently than newly caught ones. The move accuracy system in early Pokémon games had quirks that baffled players for years. Moves were assigned accuracy percentages that seemed straightforward. Thunder has 70% accuracy, Hydro Pump has 80%, and so on. But the actual formulas used to calculate hit chance were more complex than these percentages suggested, involving threshold comparisons and random number generation that didn't always align with players' intuitive understanding of probability. This led to persistent beliefs that certain moves missed more often than their listed accuracy indicated, or that opposing trainers' Pokémon had better luck than the players. Some of these beliefs were just a confirmation bias, but others were grounded in genuine quirks of how the game's code handled randomness. The accuracy system was refined in later generations to be more transparent and consistent, but those early games' sometimes unreliable hit rates became part of Pokemon's folklore. Critical hits in Generation 1 operated on an entirely different system than later games. Instead of being purely random, with a small base chance, critical hits were influenced by a Pokemon's speed stat. Faster Pokemon had notably higher critical hit rates, and certain moves like Slash and Razor Leaf had drastically increased critical hit chances. This meant that some strategies revolved around maximizing critical hits through speed investment and move selection, creating a different metagame than what players might expect. The system was changed in Generation 2 to reduce the influence of speed and make critical hits more consistently rare, preventing battles from being decided by lucky crits. But that original system added a layer of unpredictability that defined many players' early competitive experiences. The anime that brought Pokémon to television screens worldwide almost didn't happen. When the games became successful in Japan, several companies competed for the rights to adapt Pokémon into an animated series. The contract eventually went to OLM Inc., with Kunihiko Yuyama directing and Takeshi Shudo serving as head writer. Shudo had a very specific vision for the anime, one that was more serious and thematically complex than the executives might have expected. He wanted to explore what it meant for creatures to be captured and forced to fight, to question the ethics of the trainer system rather than simply celebrate it. His early scripts included more melancholy moments, more emphasis on Pokémon as living beings with their own desires and agency. The first episode, titled Pokémon, I Choose You, established Ash Ketchum as the protagonist and Pikachu as his reluctant partner. The episode's emotional core came from Ash and Pikachu's initially antagonistic relationship. Pikachu refused to obey Ash, shocking him with electricity whenever he gave commands. It took a life-threatening encounter with a flock of Spearow for the two to bond, with Ash shielding Pikachu from the attacking birds and Pikachu unleashing a massive electrical attack to save them both. This moment of mutual protection established the template for their relationship throughout the series. The episode was so effective at capturing the spirit of Pokémon that it was later remade as a theatrical film, Pokémon, I Choose You, to celebrate the franchise's 20th anniversary. The anime's production schedule was notoriously grueling. Episodes were sometimes completed just days before they were scheduled to air, with animation teams working around the clock to meet deadlines. The Western localization had even tighter schedules. Episodes were dubbed into English and sent to American television stations mere weeks after their Japanese broadcast. This breakneck pace led to some interesting creative choices. The English voice actors often had to improvise dialogue to match lip flaps or fill gaps where cultural references didn't translate. Jokes were rewritten on the fly. References to Japanese culture were replaced with more universal humor, and occasionally, entire plot points were adjusted to make sense for Western audiences who might not understand the original context. One of the most infamous incidents in Pokémon anime history occurred in December 1997 with the episode Electric Soldier Porygon. This episode featured an extended sequence where Pikachu destroyed incoming missiles with electrical attacks, creating rapidly flashing red and blue lights that filled the screen. These flashing lights triggered photosensitive epileptic seizures in hundreds of Japanese viewers, many of them children. The incident made international news and led to Pokémon's temporary suspension from television. The episode was never re-aired and has never been officially released outside Japan. Strangely, despite the episode's title, Porygon bore no responsibility for the problematic flashing lights. Those were caused by Pikachu's attacks, but Porygon and its entire evolutionary line were effectively banned from major anime appearances afterward, an unfortunate consequence of being associated with the controversial episode. The voice of Pikachu, Ikue Otani, became so synonymous with the character that her performance was kept in every localized version of the anime worldwide. Unlike human characters, whose voices changed when the show was dubbed into different languages, Pikachu always sounded the same, speaking only in variations of its name. Otani had to develop an entire emotional vocabulary using just the sounds Pika, Chu, and Pikachu, conveying happiness, sadness, anger, fear, and dozens of other states through tone and inflection alone. Her performance became as iconic as Pikachu's design, a rare example of a voice acting role that transcended language barriers. Before we continue deeper into these facts, if you've been enjoying this calm exploration of Pokemon's history, consider subscribing so you don't miss future videos like this. There's something peaceful about learning these small details, about seeing how much thought and work went into creating the games and shows we grew up with. Now, let's turn our attention to the Pokémon trading card game, which became a phenomenon almost as large as the video games themselves. The TCG was developed by Media Factory and Creatures Inc., launching in Japan in October 1996, just months after the video games. The card game's design drew inspiration from Magic the Gathering, the pioneering collectible card game, but simplified its mechanics to be more accessible to younger players. Each card featured artwork of Pokémon, attacks with colorful descriptions, and colorful energy symbols that determined what the Pokémon could do in battle. The physical cards themselves became treasured objects, collectibles that players would trade, protect in binders, and show off to friends. The card game's initial print run in Japan sold out almost immediately. Stores couldn't keep booster packs on shelves, and the secondary market for rare cards exploded. Parents found themselves driving to multiple stores trying to find cards for their children, only to discover that shipments were purchased within hours of arriving. Media Factory and the printing companies they contracted scrambled to increase production, but demand consistently outpaced supply for the first year. This scarcity made Pokémon cards even more desirable, creating a collector's market where rare holographic cards could sell for significant sums. When the TCG was brought to Western markets in January 1999, published by Wizards of the Coast, the same company behind Magic the Gathering, it faced similar supply challenges. Wizards had experience with high-demand collectible card games, but Pokémon exceeded their expectations. A spokesperson told the Washington Post that they had exhausted most of the card printing capacity of the United States trying to keep up with demand. Factories that normally printed multiple card games were devoted entirely to Pokémon. Additional printing facilities had to be contracted overseas. Despite these efforts, cards remained scarce throughout 1999, with booster packs selling out within hours of restocking. The scarcity led to some unusual situations. Schools began banning Pokémon cards because students were trading during class, getting into disputes over card values, and in some cases, stealing valuable cards from each other. What started as innocent playground trading evolved into a complex economy where children negotiated deals with the seriousness of stock traders. Teachers confiscated binders full of cards, and parent-teacher conferences sometimes centered on card trading disputes rather than academic performance. The cards had become more than game pieces, they were social currency. One of the most infamous Pokémon cards is Ancient Mew, a promotional card distributed to audiences at the theatrical release of Pokémon the Movie 2000, subtitled The Power of One. Ancient Mew was unlike any other card in the game. Its text was written in Futhark and Gothenburg runes, ancient alphabet systems that made the card look mystical and unreadable to most players. The card back was different from standard Pokémon cards, featuring a hieroglyph-like design. And most importantly, the card was holographic across its entire surface, catching light in shimmering waves that made it visually stunning. Because of its unusual characteristics and limited distribution, Ancient Mew became highly sought after by collectors, often selling for much more than its practical value and gameplay suggested. Ancient Mew was also banned from official tournament play, but not because of its rarity. The problem was that its runic text made the card's effects difficult to verify during matches. While dedicated players might memorize what Ancient Mew did, judges couldn't quickly reference the card during disputes, and the unusual card back made it easily identifiable in a deck, potentially allowing players to know when they were about to draw it. These technical issues led to its prohibition in competitive settings, though it remained a favorite among collectors who valued its aesthetic appeal over its playability. The Pokémon trading card games tournament scene developed rapidly, with players discovering powerful card combinations and strategies that the designers hadn't fully anticipated. The original base set contained several cards that proved to be far more powerful than intended. Blastoise, for example, had an ability called Rain Dance that allowed the player to attach as many water energy cards as they wanted to their water Pokémon in a single turn, overriding the normal rule of one energy per turn. Combined with the right water attacks, Blastoise decks could eliminate opposing Pokémon in a single hit much faster than most other strategies. Haymaker decks, built around Pokémon with cheap, powerful attacks and disruption cards, dominated early tournament play because they could win matches before slower strategies had time to set up. The designers addressed these balance issues through a combination of card rotation, where older sets were phased out of tournament legality, and errata, official rule changes that altered how specific cards functioned. As new sets were released, they introduced mechanics designed to counter previous dominant strategies, creating a constantly evolving metagame that rewarded players who adapted to changes. This cycle of innovation, dominance, correction, and innovation again became the pattern for the TCG's competitive scene, keeping it fresh for dedicated players while also making it accessible to newcomers who entered with the latest cards. Let's explore Pokémon Gold and Silver, the second-generation games that expanded the Pokémon world in ambitious ways. Gold and Silver took place in Johto, a new region west of Kanto that was inspired by the Kansai region of Japan. The games introduced 100 new Pokémon, expanding the Pokédex to 251 species. But beyond new creatures, Gold and Silver implemented systemic changes that fundamentally altered how Pokémon worked. The addition of a real-time clock allowed the games to track day and night cycles, with certain Pokémon appearing only at specific times. Days of the week mattered too, with events and encounters tied to particular days. This time-based gameplay made the world feel more alive and dynamic, encouraging players to check in regularly rather than play in long single sessions. Breeding mechanics were another major addition. For the first time, players could leave compatible Pokémon at a daycare center and receive an egg containing a baby Pokémon. This system introduced gender to most Pokémon species, creating male and female variants that could produce offspring together. Certain baby Pokémon, like Pichu and Togepi, could only be obtained through breeding, adding a new dimension to Pokédex completion. The breeding system also enabled players to pass down moves and train Pokémon with better individual values, laying the groundwork for competitive Pokémon breeding strategies that would become increasingly sophisticated in later generations. Gold and Silver's development had been as ambitious as the original games, if not more so. Satoshi Tajiri and his team wanted to include not just Johto, but also an updated version of the entire Kanto region from the first games. This was an enormous technical challenge, given the Game Boy's memory limitations. The team spent months optimizing code, compressing data, and finding creative solutions to fit 2 full regions onto a single cartridge. Iwata Satoru, who would later become Nintendo's president, assisted with this compression work, using his programming expertise to help Game Freak achieve what seemed impossible. His contributions were so significant that the team credits him with making it feasible to include Kanto at all. The final versions of Gold and Silver allowed players to travel back to Kanto after defeating Johto's Elite Four, experiencing a drastically changed version of the region where 3 years had passed since the events of Red and Blue. Gym leaders had been replaced, buildings had been renovated, and characters had moved on with their lives. This return to Kanto culminated in a battle with Red, the protagonist of the first games, who had isolated himself at the peak of Mount Silver. The encounter with Red was silent. He had no dialogue, just a battle with his incredibly high-level team. Defeating Red felt like passing a torch from the first generation to the second, a perfect piece of game narrative told almost entirely through environmental storytelling and mechanics rather than explicit plot. Gold and Silver's beta versions, revealed through leaked development builds, showed just how different these games could have been. The Space World demo from 1997 featured Pokémon designs that ranged from minor variations on final designs to completely unique creatures. One of the most interesting beta Pokémon was a split evolution family of water and steel type fish that evolve based on different conditions. The base form, Sunmola, could evolve into either a shark-like Pokémon called Anchorgay or continue into an eel creature named Grotess. This branching path never made it to the final game, though similar concepts would appear in later generations with Pokémon like Eevee's multiple evolutions or Wurmple's split paths. Another fascinating beta element was the abundance of baby Pokémon that were cut from Gold and Silver. The final game introduced several baby forms like Pichu, Cleffa, and Igglybuff, but beta data shows that many more were planned. There were baby versions of Vulpix, Meowth, Grimer, Paras, and even Doduo, each with their own unique sprites and designs. These pre-evolutions would have massively expanded the breeding system and given players more reasons to experiment with the daycare mechanics. However, the team ultimately decided that too many baby Pokémon cluttered the Pokédex without adding enough meaningful gameplay variety. Most were cut, though a few select ones remained to demonstrate the breeding concept without overwhelming players. The beta also revealed an early water-type starter line that looked nothing like Totodile's family. These aquatic creatures had more rounded, seal-like features and would have evolved through 2 stages into bulkier forms. The designs were charming, but apparently didn't test well internally, leading to their replacement with the more reptilian Totodile line that players eventually received. What's interesting is that some elements from these beta starters seem to have influenced later Pokémon designs, suggesting that Game Freak doesn't completely discard unused concepts, but rather archives them for potential future use. One beta Pokémon that has captured fans' imaginations is a fire-type bear line that was meant to be Johto's fire starter before being replaced by Cyndaquil. The 3-stage family started with Hanaguma, a small bear cub, evolved into Volbear, and reached its final form as Dynabear. These bears had a more aggressive, powerful aesthetic compared to Cyndaquil's quieter design. While we did eventually get bear Pokémon in Gold and Silver with Teddiursa and Ursaring, those were normal types found in the wild rather than fire starters, and their designs bore little resemblance to the beta fire bears. It makes you wonder how different the second generation's identity might have been if players had started their journeys with a fire bear instead of the flame-backed Echidna we came to love. The development of Johto's legendary Pokémon went through multiple iterations as well. The legendary beasts Raikou, Entei, and Suicune have a tragic backstory in the final games, being Pokémon who died in the burning of Brass Tower and were resurrected by Ho-Oh with new elemental powers. But early story documents suggested a different origin, one where the beasts were always legendary spirits tied to natural phenomena like storms, volcanic eruptions, and northern winds. The resurrection story was added later to connect them more directly to Ho-Oh and give the Johto legends a more cohesive narrative. This change made the legendary Pokémon feel more integrated into the region's history, rather than simply being powerful creatures that happened to exist there. The roaming legendary mechanic, where Raikou, Entei, and Suicune moved randomly across Johto's map, was designed to create a sense of pursuit and unpredictability. Each time the player moved between routes or entered a new area, the game recalculated the legendary beasts' positions, creating the impression that they were actively traveling through the region. This made encounters with them feel special and hard-earned rather than guaranteed. Players developed strategies for tracking the roaming legends, using the Pokédex to check which route they were on and planning movement paths to intercept them. The system added an element of hunt to catching these Pokémon that matched their wild, untamed nature. Unown, the psychic-type Pokémon shaped like letters of the alphabet, represented one of Gold and Silver's most unusual design experiments. There are 28 different forms of Unown, one for each letter of the Latin alphabet, plus question mark and exclamation point forms added in later versions. Each form is functionally identical, with the same stats and only one move, hidden power, yet collectors felt compelled to catch all 28 variants. Unown inhabited the ruins of Alph, a mysterious archaeological site filled with puzzles based on arranging unknown into words and phrases. The ruins suggested an ancient civilization that had used Unown as a writing system, though the games left most of this lore deliberately vague and open to interpretation. Unown became a symbol of Pokemon's ability to create mystery and speculation, creatures whose purpose and origin remain unclear even after you've caught them all. The connection between Unown and the legendary Pokemon Arceus wouldn't be explicitly revealed until much later, but the seeds were planted in Gold and Silver. The Sinjo Ruins event in Heart Gold and Soul Silver showed Arceus using Unown to create new legendary Pokemon, suggesting that Unown might be fragments or tools of Arceus's creative power. This retroactive lore gave Unown additional significance beyond their original role as collectible puzzle pieces, transforming them from curiosities into cosmic elements connected to Pokemon's creation mythology. Let's talk about some of the quirky mechanics hidden in Gold and Silver that most players never discovered. The Pokegear, the upgraded version of the original game's town map, had a radio function that could tune into different stations. One station, the Poke Flute channel, played the iconic melody that woke sleeping Pokemon. This became the only way to wake Snorlax in the post-game Kanto region, replacing the physical Poke Flute item from Red and Blue. But the radio had other functions too. Certain stations only broadcast on specific days or times, offering rare Pokemon encounters or special events. The Blue Card station played music that could attract Pokemon to headbutt trees, while other stations provided hints about where to find rare species. The radio system rewarded players who experimented with different frequencies at different times, adding another layer of temporal gameplay to complement the day and night cycles. The friendship mechanic in gold and silver had effects that extended beyond evolution requirements. Pokémon with high friendship received a 1.2 times experience boost from battles, helping them level faster. During battles, high friendship Pokémon had roughly a 10% chance to survive attacks that would normally knock them out, instead enduring with 1 HP and a message about how they toughed it out to show the trainer they were okay. They also had increased chances to shake off sleep, confusion, and paralysis, mechanical advantages that made friendship training worthwhile even for Pokémon that didn't evolve through friendship. These hidden benefits created a tangible connection between the player's relationship with their Pokémon and how those Pokémon performed in battle, reinforcing the game's themes about bonds between trainers and their teams. Pokémon's move pool diversity expanded significantly in Generation 2 with the introduction of dozens of new attacks. Some of these moves had effects that wouldn't be fully appreciated until competitive play matured. Baton Pass allowed a Pokémon to switch out while transferring its stat changes to the incoming Pokémon, enabling strategies where a support Pokémon could boost stats and then pass those boosts to a sweeper. Perish Song forced both the user and the target to faint after 3 turns unless they switched out, creating a countdown timer that could pressure opponents into making unfavorable switches. Weather moves like Sunny Day and Rain Dance altered the battlefield conditions, boosting certain types of attacks while weakening others and enabling Pokémon with weather-based abilities to activate their effects. These tactical additions gave battles more strategic depth and opened up team-building possibilities that hadn't existed in the first generation. The Steel type was introduced in Generation 2 primarily to provide a counter to the overpowered Psychic types from Generation 1. Steel-type Pokémon resisted Psychic attacks and many other types, making them excellent defensive anchors for teams. The type also introduced the concept of immunities beyond the ghost-normal interaction, with Steel types being completely immune to poison. This created interesting dynamics where certain status strategies that worked against most Pokémon were useless against Steel types, forcing players to diversify their approaches. The addition of Steel, along with Dark type that same generation, rebalanced the type chart and made competitive battling more complex and strategic. Dark type Pokémon were specifically designed to counter Psychic types as well, being immune to Psychic attacks and dealing super effective damage with dark moves. This was a direct response to how dominant Psychic Pokémon had been in Generation 1, where they had virtually no weaknesses due to the Bug type being underpowered and Ghost moves being ineffective due to a programming error. Dark types like Umbreon and Tyranitar became popular not just for their designs, but for their utility in checking Psychic threats that had previously been nearly unstoppable. The type's thematic association with trickery, ambushes, and fighting dirty gave it a distinct identity beyond just being the Psychic counter. The introduction of held items in Gold and Silver opened up another dimension of strategy. Pokémon could now carry items like berries that healed status conditions, choice items that locked them into one move but boosted its power, or leftovers that gradually restored HP each turn. These held items had to be considered during team building, as the right item could turn a marginally useful Pokémon into a genuine threat or shore up a dangerous weakness. The held item mechanic also affected trading and collection, as some items were rare and version exclusive, encouraging players to trade not just Pokémon, but items as well. Let's shift focus to the Pokémon movies, theatrical releases that expanded the franchise's storytelling beyond the games and anime series. The first Pokémon movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back, released in Japan in 1998 and in North America in 1999, became a cultural phenomenon. The movie explored themes of identity, creation, and the ethics of genetic engineering through Mewtwo's existential crisis. Mewtwo, a Pokémon cloned from Mew and engineered to be more powerful, questioned whether its artificial origin made it inferior to naturally born Pokémon. The movie took these questions seriously, presenting Mewtwo as a sympathetic character whose rage stemmed from legitimate trauma and philosophical confusion rather than simple villainy. The English dub of Mewtwo Strikes Back made significant changes to the story's themes. The Japanese version had explicitly anti-war messaging and dealt more directly with questions about artifice versus nature. The English version softened some of these themes and added an opening sequence featuring Mewtwo's creation that wasn't in the Japanese theatrical release, providing more backstory, but also changing the pacing of Mewtwo's character arc. Despite these changes, the core emotional beats remained powerful. The scene where Ash is turned to stone, trying to stop Mewtwo and Mew from fighting, and then restored by the tears of all the Pokémon, became one of the franchise's most iconic moments, a rare instance where the stakes felt genuinely high and the danger real. The second movie, Pokémon the Movie 2000, focused on the legendary birds Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres, and introduced Lugia as a powerful guardian who maintained balance between them. The movie's plot involved a collector disturbing the balance by capturing the legendary birds, nearly causing an ecological catastrophe. This environmental theme aligned with Pokémon's general philosophy about respecting nature and the creatures within it. The movie also featured prophecies and ancient rituals, giving the Pokémon world a sense of deep history and mythological significance that the games had only hinted at. These early movies established patterns that later films would follow. They typically featured a new legendary Pokémon as the centerpiece, explored themes relevant to children and families, included action sequences with high stakes, and ended with lessons about friendship, cooperation, or respecting others. The movies operated in a semi-canonical space, where events from them were acknowledged in the anime, but didn't significantly alter the series' ongoing plot lines. This allowed the movies to tell self-contained stories with emotional weight without disrupting the episodic structure of the television show. Professor Oak, the kindly Pokémon researcher who provides players with their starter Pokémon, has an interesting development history. In the original Red and Blue games, data miners discovered that Oak was programmed to be battled as a trainer with a full team of high-level Pokémon, including Tauros, Exeggutor, Arcanine, Gyarados, and even a starter Pokémon. This boss battle was cut from the final game, presumably because the developers decided Oak should remain a supportive mentor figure rather than another obstacle to overcome. However, the data remained in the cartridge, and players with GameShark devices could trigger the unused battle, experiencing what might have been the game's true final challenge had the idea been kept. Oak's rivalry with Agatha of the Elite Four is hinted at, but never fully explained. Agatha makes a cryptic comment during the player's challenge of the Elite Four about how Oak was always too cautious, and that's why he never became a true champion. This suggests that Oak and Agatha were once rivals themselves, possibly even romantic interests, but Oak chose the path of research over competitive battling, while Agatha continued pursuing strength. The games leave this backstory vague, but it adds depth to characters who might otherwise be simple archetypes, suggesting they had full lives before the player's journey began. The naming of Oak and his grandson Blue was localized differently across regions in ways that reveal interesting cultural priorities. In Japan, Oak is Professor Okido, a name that references oak trees but also sounds like a typical Japanese surname. Blue is named Shigeru after Shigeru Miyamoto, reflecting the real-world mentorship between Miyamoto and Satoshi Tajiri. In English versions, the professor became Samuel Oak, giving him a full Western name, while Shigeru became Gary Oak in the anime and Blue or Green in the games depending on version. These changes helped characters feel native to their localized regions while maintaining the essential relationships and personalities from the original. Nurse Joy and Officer Jenny, recurring characters in the anime, who appear identical across different regions, became running gags and sources of fan theories. The anime explains that Nurse Joys are all related, part of an extended family that dedicates itself to Pokémon healthcare, with members stationed in virtually every Pokémon Center across all regions. Similarly, Officer Jennies are a family of law enforcement officers. This explanation is both practical, allowing the anime to reuse character designs in every town, and oddly unsettling, implying these vast families of nearly identical women chosen for specific professions. The games avoid this oddity by simply showing generic Pokémon Center nurses without making them recurring named characters. The bike shop in Cerulean City sells a bicycle for 1 million Pokédollars, far more than players can normally accumulate by that point in the game. This created a mystery and frustration for countless players who saw the bike, wanted it for faster travel, but couldn't afford it. The solution, of course, was the bike voucher obtained in Vermilion City, which let players receive the bike for free. But the million Pokédollar price tag served a subtle design purpose. It taught players that not everything can be obtained through grinding and accumulating currency, that some items require following the game's intended progression and story beats. It was a gentle pushback against the RPG player instinct to solve problems by earning more money. Mount Moon, one of the earliest caves players navigate in Red and Blue, contains several connected facts that paint a picture of Game Freak's design philosophy. The cave is dark, requiring the HM flash to illuminate, but flash isn't mandatory to progress. Players who didn't have flash or chose not to use it could navigate Mount Moon through memorization and careful attention to wall positions, creating a more challenging but possible path. This optional difficulty represented Game Freak's willingness to let players choose their experience. Similarly, the cave contained fossils that could be revived into Pokémon, introducing the concept that some Pokémon weren't found in the wild, but had to be obtained through special methods, expanding players' understanding of how the Pokémon world worked. The super nerd trainer in Mount Moon, who demands the player pay him to pass, then battles regardless of whether they agree, was one of the earliest moments teaching players that not all NPCs are friendly or trustworthy. Most trainers in Pokémon are sportsmen who battle fairly and reward victory with prize money. This particular trainer violated those expectations, essentially extorting the player before attacking anyway. It was a small moment of moral complexity in an otherwise straightforward game, suggesting that the Pokémon world had people with less than noble motivations. Lavender Town remains one of Pokémon's most atmospheric locations, a settlement defined by the Pokémon Tower, a cemetery where deceased Pokémon are buried and memorialized. The tone of Lavender Town was distinctly melancholic compared to the rest of the game. The music, composed in a minor key with a haunting melody, created a sense of sadness and unease. Ghost Pokémon haunted the tower, and the player encountered spirits and mourning trainers throughout. This was Pokémon confronting death directly, acknowledging that Pokémon could die and that trainers grieved for them. For a game marketed primarily to children, this was a surprisingly mature thematic element, treating loss with respect rather than avoiding it. The Lavender Town Syndrome became one of gaming's most persistent urban legends. According to the legend, the original Japanese version of Red and Green had a slightly different musical track for Lavender Town that operated at frequencies particularly irritating to children's ears. The legend claims this caused headaches, nausea, and in extreme retellings, even suicides among young players. Nintendo supposedly changed the music in later versions and international releases to prevent further incidents. This legend is almost entirely false. While the music did have slight differences between versions due to technical adjustments, there's no evidence of any health crisis, and the supposed symptoms were fabricated or exaggerated. However, the legend persists because Lavender Town's music genuinely is unsettling, and players' memories of feeling uneasy there as children get mixed with the urban legend, creating a false sense of validation. The Ghost Marowak encounter in Pokémon Tower provided one of the game's few moments of genuine story pathos. The player confronts a spirit that cannot be caught or defeated by normal means. Using the Sylph Scope reveals it to be the ghost of a Marowak who died protecting its child, Cubone, from Team Rocket members. This revelation recontextualizes Cubone's Pokédex entry about wearing its mother's skull as a helmet, transforming it from a curious biological fact into a tragedy. The player must battle and lay to rest the Marowak's spirit an encounter that feels more like helping a troubled soul find peace than defeating an enemy. It's a rare moment where Pokemon's mechanics serve a narrative purpose beyond simple progression, using the battle system to tell a story about grief and resolution. Team Rocket's presence throughout Red and Blue escalates from minor nuisance to genuine threat as the game progresses. Early encounters feature grunts stealing Pokemon fossils or extorting money, petty crimes that establish them as antagonists without making them seem particularly dangerous. But by the time players reach the Sylph Company, Team Rocket has taken over a major corporation and is attempting to steal Master Balls, devices that can catch any Pokemon without fail. Giovanni, the Team Rocket boss, is revealed to be the Viridian City gym leader, creating a moment where the criminal organization and the legitimate Pokemon League are shown to intersect. This reveal suggested corruption within the system rather than simple good versus evil, adding moral complexity to what could have been a straightforward crime-fighting narrative. Giovanni's character evolved throughout Red, Blue, and their sequels in interesting ways. He's presented as calculating and ruthless, but not without principles. After losing to the player, he disbands Team Rocket and disappears, acknowledging defeat rather than continuing to pursue failed plans. In Gold and Silver, Team Rocket is attempting to reform under new leadership, but ultimately can't match Giovanni's effectiveness. A radio broadcast late in Gold and Silver reveals that Giovanni is somewhere training to become stronger, suggesting he hasn't given up on his goals, but has stepped away to reflect and improve. This characterization made Giovanni more than a simple villain, portraying him as someone with convictions and the self-awareness to know when his approach had failed. The Sylph Company building, where Team Rocket makes their major play, introduced one of the game's most elaborate puzzle sections. The building's teleporter maze required players to navigate between floors, solving spatial puzzles to reach Giovanni. These puzzles were optional in the sense that skilled players could figure them out quickly, but for many players, especially younger ones, the Sylph Company became an hours-long ordeal of trial and error. The building also contained the most powerful Pokémon that could be found in the wild up to that point, as well as numerous trainers with strong teams. It was the game's way of testing whether players were ready for the final gyms and Elite Four, ensuring they had developed their skills sufficiently to handle the challenges ahead. The Cinnabar Island Gym, led by Blaine, was the only gym in the game where answering trivia questions could help players avoid some trainer battles. The gym was set up like a quiz show with questions about Pokémon facts that, if answered correctly, allowed players to bypass trainers. This created an alternative path for players who had paid attention to Pokédex entries and NPC dialogue throughout the game, rewarding knowledge rather than just battling skill. For players who didn't know the answers or wanted the experience points from trainer battles, the gym still functioned normally, but the quiz elements added variety to what had become a fairly standardized gym formula. Cinnabar Island is also home to the Pokémon Mansion, an abandoned building filled with high-level wild Pokémon and diary entries that tell the story of Mewtwo's creation. The mansion serves as environmental storytelling, revealing through scattered documents how scientists discovered Mew in a South American jungle and attempted to clone it, creating Mewtwo in the process. The diary entries become progressively more disturbed as the project continues, culminating in the revelation that Mewtwo was born on February 6th, but the writer refers to it as too powerful, too savage. The mansion is destroyed, presumably by Mewtwo itself, leaving only ruins and these cryptic records. Players who never read the diary entries would miss this entire background narrative, but for those who explored and read carefully, it provided crucial context for Mewtwo's existence and motivation. The Elite Four in red and blue represented the game's final challenge before facing the rival as champion. Each member specialized in a specific type: Lorelei with ice, Bruno with fighting, Agatha with poison and ghost, and Lance with dragon. These specialists forced players to have diverse teams capable of handling different strategies, punishing anyone who had relied too heavily on a single powerful Pokémon. Lance, the Dragon Master, became particularly iconic. His team featured Pokémon like Dragonite, Gyarados, and Aerodactyl, creatures that felt appropriately legendary for the penultimate challenge. His theme music, shared with all Elite Four members, conveyed a sense of importance and culmination, signaling that these battles represented everything the player had been building toward. The rival battle as champion provides the game's emotional and mechanical climax. Throughout the journey, the rival has appeared at key moments, always slightly ahead of the player, always seeming more prepared and confident. But in this final encounter, the player has caught up. The rival's team mirrors the player's starter choice, ensuring that his starter has a type advantage, but by this point, skilled players have assembled teams that can overcome single type disadvantages through strategy and coverage moves. Defeating the rival and becoming champion feels earned, the culmination of dozens of hours of training, catching, and battling. The Hall of Fame records the player's team, immortalizing them as champions, and the game's story essentially concludes, transitioning into the post-game phase of completing the Pokédex and finding remaining legendary Pokémon. Mewtwo awaits players in Cerulean Cave, an endgame location accessible only after becoming champion. The cave itself is challenging, filled with high-level wild Pokémon and complex navigation, but Mewtwo stands apart as the game's ultimate prize. At level 70, it's higher level than any trainer's Pokémon in the main story, and its stats are among the highest in the game. Catching Mewtwo required patience, as its catch rate was among the lowest, necessitating either dozens of Ultra Balls or the strategic use of status effects to improve odds. But once caught, Mewtwo became an unstoppable force in casual play, its psychic-type attacks demolishing most opponents. This created a divide between players who used the legendary Pokémon and those who considered them too powerful to be sporting, a debate that continues in Pokémon communities to this day. The original Red and Blue games contained numerous glitches beyond missingno, quirks in the code that created unintended behaviors. One of the most famous was the Mew glitch, a series of specific actions that exploited the game's encounter system to battle a Mew, the mythical Pokémon that was supposed to be unobtainable without special events. The glitch involved avoiding certain trainers, performing precise movement sequences, and manipulating the game's memory to force a Mew encounter. While this was clearly unintended, many players considered it a valid way to obtain Mew since official distribution events were rare and often region exclusive. The glitch's existence created philosophical debates about what constitutes legitimate gameplay versus exploitation. Mew itself has a fascinating origin story. It was added to Pokémon Red and Green just weeks before the games were finalized, inserted by programmer Shigeki Morimoto without the knowledge of most of the development team. Nintendo and Game Freak hadn't planned major distribution events for Mew initially, making it a secret bonus that only a handful of developers knew existed. When players began discovering references to Pokémon 151 in the game code and Pokédex despite only 150 being normally obtainable, speculation about this mysterious missing Pokémon exploded. Nintendo eventually confirmed Mew's existence and ran promotional events where players could download Mew to their cartridges, turning the secret into a marketing phenomenon that drove continued interest in the games long after their initial release. The concept of trade evolutions introduced an element that remains controversial in the Pokémon community. Pokémon like Machoke, Graveler, Haunter, and Kadabra could only evolve by being traded to another player, requiring social interaction to complete their evolutionary lines. This design decision served multiple purposes. It encouraged players to connect and trade, strengthening the social bonds around Pokémon. It made certain Pokémon more valuable, since not everyone had trading partners readily available, and it created a sense of community achievement, where players needed to help each other to fully experience the game. However, it also locked content behind social requirements that some players, particularly those without friends who played Pokémon or those playing years after the game's release, couldn't easily fulfill. Modern Pokémon games have addressed this to varying degrees, but the trade evolution mechanic remains a divisive element of the series' design philosophy. Version-exclusive Pokémon served a similar social function as trade evolutions. Red and Blue each had several Pokémon that could only be caught in one version, like Growlithe in Red and Vulpix in Blue, or Oddish in Red and Bellsprout in Blue. These exclusives were designed to make both versions feel valuable and to encourage trading between players who bought different versions. The system worked extraordinarily well from a business perspective, as many dedicated fans bought both versions or had siblings and friends who split versions between them. It also meant that completing the Pokédex, the game's stated ultimate goal, was impossible without interacting with other players, either through trading or by owning multiple games and systems. This artificial scarcity created a trading economy where certain Pokémon were more sought after, and players who had rare Pokémon could leverage them for beneficial trades. The link cable battles between players introduced competitive Pokémon battling before there was any official infrastructure for it. Two players with Game Boys and a link cable could battle their teams head-to-head, testing their training strategies and team compositions against human intelligence rather than predictable AI. These informal battles on playgrounds, in schoolyards, and at friends' houses formed the foundation of Pokémon's competitive scene. Players discovered through experience that certain Pokémon were stronger than others, that type coverage mattered more than individual power, that speed tiers determined who attacked first and could be the difference between victory and defeat. These lessons were learned through trial and error, shared through word of mouth, and later through early internet forums, building a competitive metagame entirely separate from the game's intended casual experience. The discovery of Stat Experience, the Generation 1 equivalent of EVs, happened through this competitive community's efforts to understand why some Pokémon performed better than others at identical levels. Stat Experience was gained by defeating Pokémon, with each defeated Pokémon granting experience towards specific stats based on its base stats. Over time, these accumulated stat experience points translated into significant permanent increases to a Pokémon's stats. The mechanic was completely invisible within the game, never explained or referenced, meaning players had to discover it through data mining and systematic testing. Once understood, Stat Experience became crucial for competitive play, as properly trained Pokémon had substantially better stats than untrained ones. The community developed training regimens, identifying which Pokémon granted the best stat experience for optimizing specific stats, creating a metagame around preparing teams for competitive battling. Let's explore some design elements that defined Pokémon's identity in ways that might not be immediately apparent. The decision to limit players to carrying 6 Pokémon at a time wasn't arbitrary. 6 was chosen because it created interesting strategic decisions, enough Pokémon to have type coverage and strategic variety, but not so many that every possible situation could be prepared for. It meant players had to choose what to bring, leaving some Pokémon in storage and accepting that their team might face disadvantageous matchups. This limitation also made battles manageable, preventing them from becoming overwhelmingly long as players cycled through dozens of Pokémon. 6 felt like a team, a small group of companions, rather than an army. It was intimate enough that players could remember all their Pokémon's names and capabilities while still offering tactical depth. The happiness mechanic, visible in later games but present in hidden form in the originals, reflects Game Freak's philosophy about treating Pokémon kindly. Pokémon that faint frequently, are traded, or are kept in storage for long periods lose happiness. Pokémon that are used in battle, given vitamins, or simply walked around with gain happiness. This invisible system encourages players to actively use their Pokémon rather than stockpile them, to avoid letting them faint unnecessarily, to engage with them as companions rather than tools. Certain evolutions require high happiness, mechanically enforcing the idea that strong bonds lead to growth. It's a subtle way of embedding the franchise's values about friendship and care directly into the gameplay systems. The bicycle's speed in the original games was carefully calibrated. It moved exactly twice as fast as walking, making travel significantly faster, but not so fast that players would rush past areas without absorbing their details. This speed also made navigating certain puzzle sections manageable, requiring quick reflexes, but not superhuman precision. In later generations, when running shoes were added as an alternative to cycling, the games maintained this careful balance, ensuring that player movement felt good, responsive enough to be satisfying, but controlled enough that the world didn't become a blur. HM moves, hidden, machines that taught Pokémon utility, moves like cut, surf, and fly, were permanent once learned, requiring careful consideration about which Pokémon would be taught these often weak moves. This created an interesting resource management puzzle. Players needed certain HMs to progress through the game, accessing areas blocked by trees, water, or other obstacles, but dedicating move slots to HM moves meant sacrificing potential combat moves. Many players developed HM slave Pokémon, team members whose primary purpose was knowing multiple HM moves to navigate the overworld, freeing other Pokémon to maintain optimal battle movesets. This was an elegant solution to a design problem Game Freak had created, though later generations would recognize the frustration of permanent HM moves and introduce mechanics to make them temporary or eliminable. The Pokeball design, simple and iconic, supposedly drew inspiration from Andy Warhol's Campbell's soup can paintings, according to some sources, though this has never been officially confirmed by Game Freak. What is clear is that the Pokeball's design, a sphere split horizontally with contrasting colors and a central button, became one of gaming's most recognizable images. Its simplicity made it easily reproducible and identifiable even at the Game Boy's low resolution, and its function, containing vastly larger creatures in a pocket-sized device, captured the essence of Pokémon's premise perfectly. The various Pokeball variants introduced in later generations, Great Balls, Ultra Balls, specialized balls like the Dusk Ball or Quick Ball, all maintained the basic design language while adding variations that made them visually distinct. The concept of professors in each region providing starters to young trainers created a tradition that has continued throughout the franchise. Each professor is named after a tree: Professor Oak, Professor Elm, Professor Birch, and so on, establishing a botanical naming theme that subtly connects these characters across regions. The professors serve multiple roles in the game's structure. They provide the initial Pokémon that begins the player's journey, offer guidance and objectives throughout the adventure, evaluate the player's Pokédex completion, and represent the scientific study of Pokémon as a legitimate academic field. They're authority figures who nonetheless trust young protagonists with significant responsibilities, embodying the game's themes about youth capability and the value of hands-on learning. The rival character archetype established by Blue has been refined and varied throughout the series. Blue represents the classic rival, someone equally talented who began their journey at the same time and serves as a measuring stick for the player's progress. His confidence borders on arrogance. His comments about the player's team are often dismissive, and his surprise when defeated reveals that he perhaps didn't take the player as seriously as he should have. This characterization made defeating him satisfying, earning his grudging respect through repeated victories. Later generations would experiment with different rival archetypes, friendly rivals who want everyone to succeed, multiple rivals with different personalities and goals, and even rivals who begin stronger and experienced but grow alongside the player. But Blue's competitive, slightly antagonistic approach established the baseline that other rivals were variations on. The bulb on Bulbasaur's back was inspired by the concept of symbiosis, where two organisms benefit from living together. As Bulbasaur grows, the bulb draws energy from sunlight, eventually blooming into the massive flower seen on Venusaur. This evolutionary line was one of the first completed during development, with the team working backward from Venusaur's final design to create its earlier forms. Ivysaur, the second form, represents adolescence in this growth cycle. The bud on its back becomes heavier, forcing the Pokémon to develop stronger legs. This detail reflected the developer's desire to show realistic consequences of evolution, where gaining power came with physical changes that had to be adapted to. The Pokédex notes that Ivysaur spends more time in sunlight as the bud prepares to bloom, a behavior pattern inspired by real plants that track the sun's movement throughout the day. Venusaur's massive flower releases a soothing aroma that can calm emotions, a trait that mirrors how certain flowers in nature produce calming scents. The design team gave Venusaur a sturdy, almost toad-like appearance to suggest it grown strong enough to support the weight of its fully bloomed flower. In early concept art, Venusaur was even larger, but the sprite had to be scaled down to fit within the Game Boy's screen limitations. The flower itself was designed with vibrant colors that would stand out even on the limited color palette of the original games. Charmander takes inspiration from salamanders, creatures often associated with fire in mythology. The flame on its tail serves as a life indicator, a concept borrowed from old legends where a person's life was tied to a candle's flame. This gave Charmander an immediate sense of vulnerability that made players want to protect it. The designers wanted the starter Pokémon to each have a distinct personality through their appearance, and Charmander's wide eyes and small stature conveyed innocence and determination at once. Charmeleon, evolving at level 16, shows a dramatic shift in personality. Its design becomes more aggressive, with sharper claws and a more pronounced snout. This was intentional, reflecting how the once gentle Charmander becomes restless and fierce in its teenage stage. The Pokédex describes Charmeleon as seeking strong opponents and becoming excited during battles, behaviors that mirror adolescent energy and the search for identity. The flame on its tail burns more intensely, growing larger and more dangerous as the Pokémon's power increases. Charizard became one of the most iconic Pokémon in the entire franchise despite not actually being a dragon type. This decision puzzled many players, but the developers explained that Charizard's dragon typing was reserved for its later Mega Evolution forms. As a fire and flying type, Charizard could learn a diverse move pool that made it versatile in battle. Its wings allow it to soar at altitudes of over 4,000 feet, and it can melt boulders with its fire breath. The design was directly inspired by European dragons, with its orange coloring chosen to emphasize its fiery nature. In the trading card game, a first edition holographic Charizard card became so valuable that one sold for over $360,000, cementing its status as a cultural icon. Squirtle is the first water type in the Pokédex. Its shell serves as both protection and a tool for swimming, with the rounded shape allowing it to glide smoothly through water. The name Squirtle combines squirt and turtle, a straightforward naming convention that made the Pokémon easy for children to remember. Its design emphasizes cuteness with large eyes and a permanent smile, making it immediately endearing. The shell pattern on its back changes as it ages, with rings forming that can indicate how old a Squirtle is, similar to counting rings on a tree. Wartortle represents maturity in the evolution line. Its name combines warrior, tortoise, and turtle, suggesting increased battle capability. The ears and tail became fluffy and cloud-like, adding an element of mystique. According to the Pokédex, Wartortle can live for 10,000 years, a lifespan inspired by myths about ancient turtles that accumulate wisdom over centuries. The tail fur helps it maintain balance while swimming at high speeds, serving both aesthetic and functional purposes in the design. Blastwise completed the water starter line with cannons emerging from its shell. This was one of the boldest design choices in Generation 1, transforming a simple turtle into a living weapon. The cannons can blast water with enough force to punch through steel, making Blastoise a formidable presence. Its design drew inspiration from tanks and other military vehicles, giving it a commanding, powerful appearance. Blastoise has the highest base special defense stat of all fully evolved starter Pokémon, a detail that competitive players appreciate. The shell structure was designed to be symmetrical and sturdy, suggesting years of development that reinforced its defenses. Caterpie, the small bug Pokémon, was designed to be the most basic creature a player could encounter in Viridian Forest. Its simplicity was intentional, serving as a gentle introduction to battling and catching. Caterpie was the first Pokémon shown evolving in the anime, during an episode that demonstrated the transformation process for viewers who had never seen it before. The suction cups on its feet allow it to climb any surface, and its antennae release a strong odor that wards off predators. This detail came from real caterpillars that use scent as a defense mechanism. Metapod is known as the cocoon Pokémon. Its name combines metamorphosis and pod, clearly indicating its transitional state. Metapod's hard shell can withstand attacks while the creature inside prepares for evolution. In battles, Metapod famously knows only Harden, a move that increases its defense but does nothing offensively. This was a deliberate design choice to teach players about patience and the value of defensive strategies. Metapod has been shown evolving more frequently than any other Pokémon in the anime, likely because its cocoon stage is visually dramatic when it cracks open to reveal Butterfree. Butterfree represents the final stage of this rapid evolution line. Its design was inspired by swallowtail butterflies, with large compound eyes and delicate wings covered in water-resistant scales. Butterfree has been trained by multiple notable trainers in the anime, including Ash, Drew, Richie, and Soledad. In one of the anime's most emotional moments, Ash released his Butterfree so it could join a flock during migration season. This episode became iconic for showing that trainers sometimes must let their Pokémon go, a surprisingly mature theme for a children's show. The wings are designed to scatter toxic powder when threatened, a defensive adaptation based on real moths and butterflies. Weedle mirrors Caterpie as the counterpart bug Pokémon. Its design focuses on the stinger rather than suction cups, giving it a more aggressive appearance despite being equally weak. Weedle evolves at level 7, which is tied with Caterpie for the lowest evolution level requirement in the games. This was done to ensure that players encountered both early game bug evolutions quickly, learning how the system worked before moving deeper into their journey. The bright coloring of Weedle serves as a warning to predators, a concept borrowed from nature where vibrant colors often indicate poison or danger. Kakuna is Weedle's cocoon stage. Like Metapod, it has a hardened shell and minimal movement capabilities. Interestingly, Kakuna and Metapod have identical base stat totals, emphasizing that they serve the same transitional purpose in their respective evolution lines. Kakuna's shell is golden and angular, contrasting with Metapod's green and smooth design. This color choice made it easy for players to distinguish between the two even in the early games with limited graphics. Beedrill completes the line with a menacing wasp-like design. Its name was originally intended to be spelled with only one letter L, but this was changed during localization. Beedrill wields massive stingers on its arms and tail, making it a fast and aggressive attacker. Its design reflects the danger of disturbed hive insects, with the Pokédex warning that angering one Beedrill can bring an entire swarm. This detail added environmental storytelling to the games, suggesting that the Pokémon world operates with its own ecosystem rules. Pidgey is the first of many bird Pokémon encountered on routes throughout Kanto. Its design is based on a common pigeon, making it instantly recognizable to players around the world. Pidgey is the only Pokémon with a base stat total of exactly 251, an oddly specific number that has no particular significance, but became a piece of trivia enthusiasts enjoy noting. Its gentle nature and abundance in the wild made it a staple of early game teams, often serving as a flying companion before players found rarer birds. Pidgeotto represents the teenage stage of the Pidgey line. It grows larger and develops a crest of feathers on its head, giving it a more distinguished appearance. In the anime, Ash caught a Pidgeotto in an episode titled Ash Catches a Pokémon, and it became one of his most frequently used team members during the Kanto journey. Pidgeotto's talons are strong enough to carry prey, and it patrols a large territory, attacking any intruders it perceives as threats. Pidgeot is the final evolution and one of the fastest bird Pokémon in Generation 1. It is the only Pokémon with a base stat total of exactly 469, another unique numerical distinction. Pidgeot can fly at speeds reaching Mach 2, creating gusts of wind powerful enough to bend trees. In a memorable anime moment, Ash left his Pidgeot in Viridian Forest to protect a flock of smaller Pidgey and Pidgeotto. Despite promising to return for it, Pidgeot never appeared again in the series, making it one of the most infamous unresolved storylines in Pokémon history. Rattata is a simple rat Pokémon found in almost every grassy area. Its design was intentionally basic, representing the common wildlife that any region would have. The name is a play on rat and attack, though Rattata's stats make it more suited for quick hit-and-run tactics than prolonged battles. Its Hyperfang attack became notorious among early players for dealing more damage than expected from such a small creature. Rattata's purple coloring differentiated it from real rats, while keeping it recognizable as a rodent. Raticate evolves from Rattata and becomes significantly bulkier. Its whiskers help it maintain balance, and its teeth grow continuously throughout its life, forcing it to gnaw on hard objects to keep them at a manageable length. This detail was borrowed from real rodents that must wear down their teeth to prevent overgrowth. Raticate's design adds aggression to Rattata's scrappy appearance, with larger fangs and a more intense expression. Spearow is a smaller and more aggressive bird than Pidgey. Its design was based on sparrows, but with a meaner temperament to create variety in the early game encounters. In the very first episode of the anime, a Spearow attacked Pikachu, leading to one of the series' most iconic moments where Ash protected his partner. The scene was shown from Spearow's perspective in black and white, adding a dramatic flair. Spearow's cry is harsh, and its beak is sharp, designed to make it feel more threatening despite its small size. Fearow is the evolution that lives up to Spearow's aggressive nature. Its long neck and beak allow it to catch prey from the ground while soaring high above. Fearow's wingspan is enormous, making it an intimidating sight. In the Pokédex, it's noted for flying continuously for entire days without resting, suggesting incredible stamina. The design emphasizes its predatory nature, contrasting sharply with Pidgeot's more graceful appearance. Ekans is a purple snake Pokémon whose name is simply Snake, spelled backward. This straightforward naming convention made it easy for children to understand the Pokémon's basis. Ekans coils around prey to immobilize it, then uses its jaw to swallow the victim whole. This mirrors the behavior of real constrictor snakes. In the anime, Ekans was part of Jesse's team in Team Rocket, becoming one of the more sympathetic villain Pokémon due to its loyalty and gentle personality despite its fearsome appearance. Arbok evolves from Ekans and gains an intimidating pattern on its hood. This pattern is designed to frighten enemies, with the Pokédex noting that there are 6 variations depending on the region. In reality, all Arbok in the games share the same pattern, but this lore detail added depth to the world building. Arbok's ability to crush steel drums shows how much stronger it is than Ekans, and its intimidating presence made it a popular choice for villainous trainers in the anime and games. Pikachu needs little introduction as the franchise's mascot. However, its journey to that role was not guaranteed. Originally, Clefairy was planned to be the main mascot, and a manga titled Pokémon Pocket Monsters featured Clefairy as the protagonist's partner. When the anime was developed, Pikachu was chosen instead due to its appealing design and ability to represent the electric type, which was visually striking with its yellow coloring and lightning bolt tail. The name Pikachu comes from two Japanese onomatopoeia, pika, which represents a sparkle or flash of light, and chu, which is the sound a mouse makes. This clever naming made Pikachu feel authentic in both Japanese and international markets. Pikachu's global appeal was tested when the games were localized for Western audiences. There were concerns that its cute, rounded design wouldn't resonate with children used to more muscular superheroes. Nintendo's American subsidiary was reportedly shown a beefed-up, more aggressive version of Pikachu, but they wisely chose to keep the original design. This decision proved correct as Pikachu became recognizable worldwide, appearing on everything from merchandise to parade floats. In the trading card game, Pikachu cards have remained consistently popular, and the character's role in the Detective Pikachu movie introduced it to a new generation of fans. Raichu is Pikachu's evolution, though it often lives in the shadow of its pre-evolution's fame. Raichu's design features longer ears and a darker orange coloring, suggesting increased power. Its tail ends in a grounding mechanism that prevents it from shocking itself when unleashing electricity. In the anime, Ash famously chose never to evolve his Pikachu into Raichu, prioritizing their bond over raw power. This decision became a recurring theme, showing that evolution isn't always necessary for success. Raichu can discharge up to 100,000 volts, enough to knock out much larger opponents. Despite being a powerful Pokémon, Raichu struggles with its identity as the evolution of Pikachu, rather than a character in its own right, a meta-commentary on how mascots can overshadow their counterparts. Sandshrew is a ground-type Pokémon based on armadillos and pangolins. Its yellow coloring and plated back made it visually distinct from other early game creatures. Sandshrew can curl into a ball to protect itself, a defense mechanism borrowed directly from real armadillos. The Pokédex notes that Sandshrew prefers dry, arid environments, which is why it's commonly found in desert areas. Interestingly, in one early anime episode, a trainer's Sandshrew was shown swimming in water despite being a ground type that should logically struggle with it. This was later confirmed as an animation oversight, but at the time, children speculated that Sandshrew had hidden aquatic abilities. Sandslash evolves from Sandshrew and becomes a more aggressive fighter. Its back is covered in sharp spikes that can slice through opponents during a spinning attack. Sandslash's claws are powerful enough to dig through the toughest ground, and it uses these claws to create burrows where it hides from predators. The design emphasizes speed and sharpness, making Sandslash a favorite among players who enjoyed physical attackers. Nidoran female is one half of a unique evolutionary split based on gender. Its design features smaller spikes and a blue coloring to distinguish it from the male counterpart. The Pokédex describes Nidoran female as less aggressive, using poison as a defensive measure rather than an offensive weapon. This gender dimorphism was one of the first examples in the series of Pokémon having distinct male and female forms, a concept that would expand in later generations. Nidorina is the evolution of Nidoran female. Interestingly, despite being able to breed as Nidoran female, Nidorina and Nidoqueen cannot breed at all. This makes them the only fully evolved Pokémon line with this restriction, and no official explanation has ever been given for why this design choice was made. Nidorina's body becomes sturdier and its spikes more pronounced, preparing it for the final evolution. Nidoqueen completes the female line as a powerful poison and ground type. Its design borrows elements from both reptiles and armored mammals, creating a creature that feels protective and strong. Nidoqueen is known for its maternal instincts, fiercely defending its young from any threat. The scales covering its body are as hard as diamonds, providing exceptional defense. Nidoqueen's dual typing makes it versatile in battle, and its high HP stat allows it to endure long fights. Nidoran male is the male counterpart with a distinct purple coloring. Its ears are larger and its horn is longer than the female's, designed to make the gender difference immediately obvious even on the Game Boy's limited screen. Nidoran male is more aggressive by nature, using its horn to inject venom into opponents. Unlike the female line, the male line retains its ability to breed through all stages of evolution. Nidorino evolves from Nidoran male and gains increased aggression. The horn on its head hardens and grows, becoming a formidable weapon. Nidorino was featured prominently in the opening sequence of Pokémon Red and Blue, battling against a Gengar in what became one of the most iconic images of the franchise. This choice for the opening battle wasn't random. The developers wanted to showcase Pokémon with dynamic shapes that would look impressive even in the game's primitive graphics. Nidoking is the final evolution and one of the most versatile Pokémon in Generation 1. Its design resembles a powerful beast, combining elements of rhinos, dinosaurs, and armored warriors. Nidoking's tail is thick and strong, capable of smashing through concrete. It can learn an incredibly diverse move pool, including punches, elemental attacks, and even surf, making it valuable for players who wanted a single Pokémon that could handle many situations. The name combines needle, referencing its spikes, with king, emphasizing its position at the top of its evolutionary line. Clefairy is a fairy-type Pokémon that was originally classified as normal type in Generation 1 before the fairy type was introduced in later games. Clefairy was nearly chosen as the franchise mascot before Pikachu took that role. In the Pokémon Pocket Monsters manga, Clefairy served as the main character's partner and had a sassy, talking personality similar to Team Rocket's Meowth. Clefairy's design is based on the concept of cute, magical creatures from folklore, with its pink coloring and star-shaped tail emphasizing innocence and whimsy. The Pokédex notes that Clefairy are rarely seen and live in remote mountainous regions, only emerging on nights with a full moon to dance in groups. This behavior adds a mysterious quality to an otherwise playful Pokémon. Clefable evolves from Clefairy when exposed to a moonstone. Its design becomes more elegant, and its wings allow it to float gracefully. Clefable's hearing is so acute that it can detect sounds from great distances, a trait that mirrors its shy and reclusive nature. The evolution into Clefable requires a moonstone, one of several evolutionary stones that added strategic depth to the games by forcing players to decide when to evolve their Pokémon. Vulpix is a fire type based on foxes and the kitsune from Japanese folklore. Kitsune are mythical foxes that grow additional tails as they age and gain power. Vulpix starts with 6 tails that are said to curl as it grows, and these tails can emit flames when the Pokémon is angry or defensive. The internal temperature of Vulpix's body can rise dramatically, making it dangerous to hold, despite its cute appearance. Its red-brown coloring was chosen to emphasize its fiery nature while keeping it distinct from other fire types like Charmander. Ninetales evolves from Vulpix when exposed to a firestone. As its name suggests, it now has 9 tails, completing the mythological reference. According to the Pokédex, Ninetales can live for 1,000 years and possesses mystical powers that allow it to understand human speech. Some entries even suggest it can curse those who mistreat it, adding a darker element to its otherwise elegant design. Ninetales' flowing fur and graceful posture give it an almost regal appearance, making it one of the more visually striking Pokémon in Kanto. Jigglypuff is known for its ability to sing opponents to sleep. Its round, balloon-like body and large eyes make it immediately endearing. Jigglypuff's voice can change pitch to match any tone, and the lullaby it sings has never been known to fail in putting listeners to sleep. This became a running gag in the anime, where Jigglypuff would become offended that its audience fell asleep and would draw on their faces with a marker. Jigglypuff is the only character in the Super Smash Bros. Series to retain its original voice track through all 3 games on Nintendo 64, GameCube, and Wii. This consistency made its voice iconic among fighting game players. Jigglypuff was also reclassified from normal type to normal and fairy type in later generations, acknowledging its magical singing abilities. Wigglytuff evolves from Jigglypuff when exposed to a moonstone. Its body becomes even rounder, and according to the Pokédex, it's exactly 1 meter tall, which is 3 feet and 3 inches. This oddly specific measurement became a piece of trivia that fans enjoy reciting. Wigglytuff's fur is incredibly soft and pleasant to touch, so much so that 2 Wigglytuff hugging each other will refuse to let go due to the comfort. This detail adds a layer of whimsy to the Pokemon's design. Wigglytuff's lung capacity is extraordinary, allowing it to inflate to enormous sizes, a trait that occasionally appears in the anime for comedic effect. Zubat is a poison and flying type that has become infamous for being overly common in caves. Its design features no visible eyes, as Zubat relies entirely on echolocation to navigate dark environments. This detail was borrowed from real bats that use ultrasonic waves to map their surroundings. The absence of eyes made Zubat's design simple yet memorable, and its blue coloring helped it stand out against the dark backgrounds of cave areas. In the games, encountering Zubat every few steps in caves like Dark Cave or Mount Moon became a rite of passage for players, often testing their patience. Golbat evolves from Zubat and finally reveals its eyes, which are large and menacing. Its massive mouth is filled with sharp teeth, and it uses its 4 fangs to drain blood from prey. This vampiric trait gave Golbat a darker edge compared to other Pokémon. Golbat is notable for being the first Pokémon in the National Pokédex to gain a new evolution in a later generation, with Crobat introduced in Generation 2. This showed that the Pokédex was not set in stone, and that Pokémon could continue to evolve in future games. Oddish is a grass and poison type that resembles a walking radish or turnip. Its scientific name, Odium wanderus, was revealed in the Fire Red Pokédex, making it one of the few Pokémon to have a formal scientific classification. This added a sense of realism to the Pokémon world, suggesting that in-universe researchers study these creatures with the same rigor applied to real biology. Oddish buries itself in soil during the day to absorb nutrients through its feet, only emerging at night to scatter seeds under the cover of darkness. Gloom evolves from Oddish and becomes known for the foul-smelling nectar it produces. This nectar drips from its mouth and attracts bug-type Pokémon while repelling most others. Gloom is unique among its evolutionary relatives because it can evolve into 2 different Pokémon depending on which evolutionary stone is used. If exposed to a leaf stone, it becomes Vileplume, but if exposed to a sunstone in later generations, it becomes Bellossom. This branching evolution path was groundbreaking when introduced, offering players meaningful choices. Vileplume is the leafstone evolution of Gloom. Its design features a massive red flower with white spots resembling the real-world Rafflesia flower, which is known for producing a rotting flesh smell to attract insects. Vileplume's petals release toxic pollen that can cause severe allergic reactions, and it's said that the more pollen it releases, the more danger is nearby. The sheer size of the flower compared to Vileplume's body shows how the plant has taken over, representing a full symbiotic relationship. Paras is a bug and grass type with mushrooms growing on its back. These mushrooms are actually parasitic, feeding off Paras and eventually taking control as it evolves. The relationship between Paras and its mushrooms is one of the darker symbiotic concepts in Pokémon, as the host creature is slowly being consumed. Paras has a unique ability combination that gives it a 5 times weakness to fire-type moves due to its dry skin ability, making it one of the most vulnerable Pokémon in battle. Parasect shows the final stage of the parasitic takeover. The mushroom has grown so large that it now completely controls Parasect's actions. The Pokémon's eyes are blank and lifeless, suggesting that the original Paras consciousness is gone. This is one of the most unsettling evolutionary concepts in the series, as it's unclear whether Parasect is still alive in any meaningful sense, or if it's simply a husk controlled by the fungus. Despite this grim backstory, Parasect is often portrayed more lightheartedly in the anime. Venonat is a bug and poison type with large compound eyes and a fuzzy purple body. Its eyes glow red in the dark, and they're sensitive enough to detect movement in complete darkness. Shiny Venonat reverses the color scheme with blue eyes and nose instead of red, creating a striking visual difference. Venonat's design was intended to resemble a walking ball of fuzz with radar-like sensory abilities. Venomoth evolves from Venonat and gains the ability to fly with large wings covered in toxic scales. Venomoth shares its species name, Poison Moth Pokémon, with Dustox from a later generation. The wings scatter poisonous dust with every flap, making Venomoth dangerous to approach. An interesting design theory suggests that Venomoth's appearance seems more closely related to Metapod and Butterfree than to Venonat, leading some fans to speculate that the evolutionary lines were swapped during development. While never officially confirmed, the similar eye structures between Venonat and Butterfree and between Metapod and Venomoth give this theory credence. Diglett is a ground-type Pokémon whose body beneath the surface has never been officially shown. This mystery has fueled decades of speculation about what Diglett looks like underground. Some Pokédex entries suggest it has feet, while others imply it might be all head. The ambiguity was intentional, creating a sense of mystery around even the simplest Pokémon. Diglett's ability to dig through the ground at incredible speeds makes it useful for tunneling, and it often lives in groups that prepare soil for farming. Dugtrio appears to be 3 Diglett emerging from the same spot. Whether Dugtrio is 3 separate creatures working together or one organism with 3 heads has never been definitively answered, adding to the mystery. What lies beneath Dugtrio has become one of Pokémon's most enduring questions. The Japanese arcade game Pokémon Tretto once showed Dugtrio with a full body beneath the surface during a glitch, but this was never confirmed as canon. Dugtrio's 3 heads can work in unison to cause an earthquakes and trigger cave-ins. Meowth is a normal type based on a cat. Its design features a golden coin on its forehead, referencing the Japanese maneki neko, or beckoning cat, which is a symbol of good fortune. Meowth's association with wealth is reinforced by its ability to learn Payday, a move that generates coins during battle. In the anime, Team Rocket's Meowth is unique for being able to speak human language, a trait it learned by watching movies and mimicking human speech patterns in an attempt to impress a female Meowth. This backstory gave Meowth depth beyond its role as a villain's sidekick. Interestingly, Meowth has multiple regional forms introduced in later generations, including Alolan Meowth, which evolves into Persian, and Galarian Meowth, which evolves into the entirely different Berserker. Persian evolves from regular Meowth and embodies feline grace and power. Its sleek design and jewel-like forehead gem give it an aristocratic appearance. Persian is fast and dangerous, using its sharp claws to slash at opponents with surgical precision. Giovanni, the leader of Team Rocket and the final gym leader in Kanto, famously uses Persian as his signature Pokémon, reinforcing its image as a powerful and elegant creature. Psyduck is a water type that suffers from constant headaches. When the headache becomes unbearable, Psyduck unconsciously releases powerful psychic energy. This makes Psyduck one of the few water types with significant psychic capabilities. In the anime, as Misty's Psyduck was a source of comedic relief, often appearing at the worst possible moments. Despite its confused demeanor, Psyduck's hidden psychic powers made it surprisingly effective in crucial battles. The design was meant to evoke a perpetually bewildered duck, with its vacant expression becoming iconic. Golduck evolves from Psyduck and gains full control over its psychic abilities. Its sleek blue body and red gem on its forehead give it a more focused appearance. Golduck is an expert swimmer, capable of cutting through water at high speeds using its webbed hands and feet. The gem on its forehead glows when it uses psychic powers, suggesting the evolution resolved Psyduck's headache problem by organizing its mental energy. Despite being water type, Golduck's psychic abilities make it versatile enough to surprise opponents expecting a straightforward aquatic fighter. Mankey is a fighting type based on primates. Its design emphasizes raw, uncontrolled aggression with wild fur and a permanent scowl. Mankey is known for flying into rages without warning, attacking anything nearby when angered. This temperament made it a perfect representation of the fighting type's philosophy: overwhelming force delivered without hesitation. The Pokédex warns that Mankey can die from its own rage if it becomes too angry, a surprisingly dark detail for what appears to be a simple monkey Pokémon. Primeape evolves from Mankey and becomes even more aggressive. Its rage is constant, and it's said that Primeape will chase down anyone who makes eye contact with it, pursuing them to the ends of the earth if necessary. This relentless nature makes Primeape both dangerous and pitiable, as it seems unable to find peace. In the anime, Ash caught a Primeape that was initially hostile but eventually became a trusted team member. Later, Ash left Primeape with a trainer to help it become a champion fighter, one of several Pokémon Ash chose to leave behind for their own benefit. Growlithe is a fire type based on dogs, specifically Shiba Inus and other Japanese dog breeds. Its orange and black striped pattern makes it instantly recognizable. Growlithe is fiercely loyal and protective, traits that led to it being used by police forces in the Pokémon world. Officer Jenny's signature Pokémon is typically a Growlithe or its evolution, Arcanine. The Pokédex describes Growlithe as having an incredible sense of smell that allows it to track scents over vast distances and never forget them, making it ideal for search and rescue operations. Arcanine evolves from Growlithe when exposed to a firestone. Its design is based on large guardian dogs from Chinese and Japanese mythology, creatures that were said to ward off evil spirits. Arcanine is massive and majestic, with the Pokédex claiming it can run 6,200 miles in a single day and night. This incredible speed and stamina made Arcanine legendary in the Kanto region, to the point where it's classified as the legendary Pokémon, despite not being an actual legendary in game terms. Arcanine's flowing mane and powerful build give it the appearance of a noble beast, and it has remained one of the most popular fire types across all generations. Poliwag is a water-type tadpole with a visible spiral pattern on its translucent belly. This spiral represents its internal organs, which can be seen through its thin skin. The swirl rotates in different directions depending on the region where Poliwag lives, a detail that adds geographical variety to the species. Poliwag's legs are still developing, so it primarily swims using its tail. The design captures the transitional nature of tadpoles, creatures caught between aquatic and terrestrial life. Poliwhirl represents the next stage in this development. The swirl on its belly becomes more pronounced, and the Pokédex notes that staring at the spiral can induce hypnosis. Poliwhirl has gained rudimentary arms and legs, allowing it to move on land, though it still prefers water. Poliwhirl is unique because it can evolve into two different Pokémon, Poliwrath if exposed to a water stone, or Politoed if traded while holding a King's Rock in later generations. Poliwrath is the water and fighting type, evolution. Its body becomes more muscular and its stance more aggressive. Poliwrath is an expert swimmer capable of using powerful punches underwater, and its stamina allows it to swim across oceans without tiring. The dual typing made Poliwrath a strong choice for competitive players who wanted a water type that could also handle physical combat. The design emphasizes raw strength with bulging muscles and a determined expression. Abra is a psychic type that spends 18 hours a day sleeping. This constant rest is necessary because Abra is always using its psychic powers, even during sleep. When it senses danger, Abra can teleport away instantly, making it one of the hardest Pokémon to catch in the wild. In battles, wild Abra only knows a teleport, which ends the encounter immediately. This made catching Abra a test of speed and strategy, forcing players to either use sleep-inducing moves or throw Pokeballs on the first turn. Kadabra evolves from Abra at level 16. Its design features a star on its forehead and a bent spoon, both references to real-world psychic phenomena. Kadabra's presence emits alpha waves that can cause headaches in people nearby, and electronic devices malfunction when it's around. This interference added a layer of realism to its psychic powers. Kadabra became the subject of controversy when illusionist Uri Geller, famous for his spoon-bending performances, sued Nintendo for creating a Pokémon that too closely resembled him. The lawsuit was eventually dropped, but it brought unusual real-world attention to Kadabra's design. Alakazam completes the evolution line and is one of the most intelligent Pokémon ever discovered. Its brain continuously grows, and it's said to have an IQ of 5,000. Alakazam remembers everything it has ever experienced, giving it perfect recall. The spoons it holds amplify its psychic powers, allowing it to bend metal and predict the future. Alakazam's design is intentionally frail-looking, with thin limbs and a large head, emphasizing that its strength comes from mental prowess rather than physical power. In competitive play, Alakazam became famous for its speed and special attack stats, making it a devastating glass cannon. Machop is a fighting type whose muscles never stop developing. Even a newborn Machop can lift an adult human, demonstrating incredible strength from birth. The Pokédex notes that Machop trains its body constantly, practicing martial arts and lifting heavy objects. This dedication to self-improvement mirrors the fighting type philosophy. Some entries humorously state that Machop likes its body so much that it's always looking in mirrors, unable to resist admiring its own muscles. This vain streak contrasts with Pokémon Stadium descriptions that insist Machop remains humble despite its strength. Machoke evolves at level 28 and gains even more muscle mass. Its body is so powerful that it wears a restraining belt to limit its strength, preventing an accidental destruction of its surroundings. Machoke helps with heavy labor, often working at construction sites to move boulders and beams. The design emphasizes raw power with bulging muscles and a confident stance. Some artwork depicts Machoke's hands as mitten-like with no visible fingers, while other official art shows distinct fingers, creating inconsistency in how its hands are portrayed. Machamp is the final evolution and possesses 4 arms, allowing it to throw 500 punches per second. This incredible speed and power make Machamp one of the strongest physical attackers in Generation 1. The 4 arms are perfectly coordinated, capable of performing complex tasks or delivering devastating combos. Machamp's mastery of all martial arts makes it a complete fighter, and its presence in the Champions team or Elite Four rosters reinforced its status as a top-tier Pokémon. Bellsprout is a grass and poison type based on a carnivorous plant. Its thin, vine-like body sways constantly, and despite its frail appearance, Bellsprout is surprisingly agile. The design was inspired by pitcher plants and Venus flytraps, plants that trap and digest insects. Bellsprout uses its vines to ensnare prey, pulling them into its bell-shaped mouth. The Pokédex notes that Bellsprout prefers hot and humid environments, thriving in tropical climates. Weepinbell evolves from Bellsprout and becomes more predatory. Its bell-shaped body is now large enough to swallow small Pokémon whole, dissolving them with acidic fluids. Weepinbell hangs from tree branches using a vine, waiting for prey to pass underneath. This ambush hunting style reflects real carnivorous plants that rely on patience and camouflage. The name combines weeping and bell, suggesting both its shape and the way it dangles waiting for victims. Victreebel completes the evolutionary line with a massive, gaping mouth filled with sharp teeth. In the anime, James from Team Rocket owns a Victreebel that constantly attacks him affectionately, creating a running gag. Interestingly, Victreebel is the only Pokémon James ever battled before capturing it, making their first encounter unique. Victreebel uses its sweet-smelling nectar to lure prey, then snaps its jaws shut, trapping victims inside to be slowly digested. The Pokémon's predatory nature is one of the most aggressive among grass types. Tentacool is a water and poison type jellyfish. Its body is 99% water, with the remaining 1% containing the organs that produce its poison. This detail gives Tentacool an almost ethereal quality, as if it's barely corporeal. Tentacool's tentacles deliver painful stings that can leave opponents paralyzed, and it's often found in large swarms near coastlines. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed drifting through these quiet moments, there's another video waiting on the left of your screen. Let it play while you rest. You might discover something gentle before sleep takes you again.